Hi. I'm still no good at this. Okay, hello. I'm Pippa. You might have seen me, you probably won't have seen me, but you might have seen me from my previous broadcast, which was about chronic illness and social media. And today I wanted to talk a little bit about mobility aids, not just as in wheelchairs and power chairs and all that, but general living mobility aids, things that make the day-to-day easier as somebody who has pain and fatigue as part of their condition. And full disclosure, again, like last time, it's one of those days, so like words just ugh. But we're going to do this because I like talking about mobility aids. It's kind of like, pet peeve isn't a strong enough word, but I have some issues with mobility aids at the minute, so it's quite therapeutic to talk about it. And I know that a lot of people actually feel the same way thanks to a recent blog post, but we'll talk about more about that later. Hi, Living Healthy. Yay, someone's here. Yay. So to tell you a bit about my experience, just briefly, I feel like I'm talking really posh today. This doesn't sound like me. But to tell you a bit about my experience, I started using a wheelchair about 3 years ago now, just a transit wheelchair pushed by somebody else. And then in May this year, I finally took the plunge and started using a power chair. And getting a power chair is honestly one of the best decisions I've ever made. It took me a really long time to kind of come around to the idea, and I suppose a lot of it was a vanity issue on my part, but like having a power chair has been a game changer for me. It's just makes life so much easier once you get the hang of it. I've not had any hit and run incidents yet anyway, which is good. Oops. Glad to see you too. Hope you're okay. Hope today's a good day. Oh god, I sound like a CBeebies presenter. So basically, my main kind of, well, not my main issue, but one of the issues I have with kind of mobility aids is other people's perceptions of them. And this is something I think about a lot because before I got ill, I probably would have been the same. I'm not an exception to this in thinking that mobility aids like wheelchairs and power chairs are a negative thing, like it's something to kind of almost dread. It's like a worst case scenario if you're ill that you have to rely on a wheelchair or a power chair. Yet once I started using one myself, I realised that it's actually the complete opposite because it's improved my quality of life so much, really. And just, yeah, I like, words. It's made such a difference. So if there's something out there that could massively reduce the symptoms you experience on a day-to-day basis, then why are we seeing that as a negative thing when it could make such a difference? And I think it says a lot, really, that even though my mindset's changed now and I see it as a much more positive thing, which it is, it still says a lot about the world that other people do still have that same mindset, that using a wheelchair is kind of like a bad thing, like a worst case scenario kind of thing. And it just kind of goes to show how far we have to go in kind of changing people's perceptions about disability, like it's the worst thing in the world. And I actually wanted to talk a bit about what happened in Sainsbury's last week because, it's a prime example of this. I went in my power chair, and I'm still not that used to going out in my power chair yet. I've not really learned how to deal with people's questions because really, why are they even asking questions anyway? But I went to the checkout with my donuts, and the guy on there, like, as soon as anyone really in that situation sets eyes on the power chair, you can kind of see them thinking, oh yes, conversation point, which is the worst thing because I absolutely can't stand that that's the first thing people see when they look at me now. Like that is probably the worst bit of all for me. Like when people look at me, they see a power chair, they don't see me, they see the mobility aid, and that's hands down the toughest bit for me. But anyway, you can see the guy revving up like, oh, so that's a power chair, is it? And I was like, yep, you're right, it is. Well done. And he says, oh, why are you in that then? And I was like, well, long-term illness, yay! And try and keep it upbeat like you do. And he was like, did you have an accident? And I was like, no. And he was like, so will you be in that forever then? And I was like, Oh, God. Because how do you even answer that? I don't even think I did answer it in the end. I just kind of scooted off with my donuts and I was like, I'm not dealing with this today. So it just kind of goes to show, like, if people, and you can't blame them, you can't, like, criticize people when most people just haven't had the experience. They don't understand kind of our point of view, and it's a shame, but, like, it does just go to show how far we need to go in kind of terms of kind of educating people. Not educating, that sounds really preachy, but just kind of encouraging people to see it through our eyes. And, like, I just wish if I could have one thing now, it would be to have people kind of see me like they used to before I started using like a wheelchair or a power chair, because it really does get to me that, like, that's the thing that people notice, when really they could notice how much my hair looks like Hagrid's today. God. So that's that rant. The other thing I wanted to talk about was kind of yes, so in terms of general mobility aids for living, so things like kind of, I have a shower stool, I have a perching stool in the kitchen for when I'm cooking and stuff. I have like things on sticks to help with cleaning and living and grabbing and all stuff like that. All little bits and pieces that kind of help me out in day-to-day life, and I'm sure many other people do. If you have those kind of things, I'd be really interested to hear what helps you as well. But I was talking about this with my friend Charlotte the other day, and she said something that's kind of stayed with me, and that was how all these mobility aids are in design very medical and very geriatric. Like, they do look very, very medical. I'm tempted to go and get my shower stool to show you, but I don't think I can be bothered to get up. But, like, all of these things are designed and they do look like very kind of sterile medical in design. And Charlotte was saying, you don't ever see like a rose gold shower stool, do you? And I was like, that is so true, because these products so often aren't marketed for our generation. They are very much marketed towards elderly people, and I do completely understand that, because elderly people will make up such a large part of the target market. But it kind of, I don't know, it kind of perpetuates the idea that young people don't get ill. And meanwhile, we're here like, hey. And yeah, it just, like, things just don't seem to be designed with younger people in mind. And never has this point been made more clear to me than when I was looking for my power chair. And I'm sure if you follow me on social media, you'll be sick of hearing about this. But when I was getting my power chair, it drove me absolutely mad, because power chairs are just marketed towards elderly people, like, for the most part. And that's probably quite a general statement to make. It's a blanket statement, but in my experience, power chairs are marketed towards elderly people rather than younger people. And as a younger person who's looking to make a purchase of that kind, it is honestly so demoralizing, and it's so demeaning in a way. And just, oh, I've got my iPad actually. I thought, if I can get this to work, I'll show you, because the power chair I've got, I absolutely love. It's really cute and it's really dainty and I love it. It's the Eden Comet. And I knew that I wanted a power chair like this, but when I went online to kind of look in more depth, like, bear in mind that I'm a 23-year-old, like, who's going to look at this? Who's going to look at that and think, oh yeah, that could be me? Like, seriously, like, she's clearly having the time of her life, but this is not representative of our generation. And, like, it might seem like such a minor thing if you've not experienced it, but it does make a difference, because who wants to look at, like, a photo of an elderly person? And that's not an isolated incident. It's not like I could just go and look at something else and think, oh yeah, that's more like it, because just in so many of the places I looked, it was elderly people. And oh, it's so off-putting. And just, I think really that was one of the things that prevented me from, like, making the decision to get a power chair for so long, really. Just, yeah, it did just kind of put me off. And it, like I said, it was a vanity issue. It was, like, I can't pretend it wasn't, because I am paranoid about how people see me, which is silly. But I'm sure I can't be the only one, and, like, I'd be interested to hear if anybody else has had similar experiences. But one thing that was really nice was that I wrote quite a ranty blog post about this on Life of Pippa, my blog. Self-promo, never mind. And I got some of my friends involved who talked a bit about their experiences, and together we kind of put together this little post, and we all took pictures in our mobility aids to kind of act as a kind of alternative, so that other people, if anybody else was in that same situation to me, they could look at this and see, oh, thank God there are people like me out there. Like, it's not just me, it's not just elderly people. So we put that post together, and it's the most read post on my blog by like triple anything else I've ever written. Like, it did, like, I know it made me feel better that so many people kind of related to it, and it kind of resonated with people, because it is terrible that other people felt the same way that I did, but it was nice to see that I wasn't in it alone. So that was really lovely, and people kind of shared their own pictures, and it was really nice. And to hear that, like I think as far as I know, 2 people since reading that post have taken the plunge and got power chairs because of that post. That is like the best. Like, I can't even tell you how good that feels, because if their power chair does for them what it's done for me, then I'll be so glad. I'll be so, so, so glad. And if by chance anyone is watching this who's kind of in that situation of kind of thinking maybe not necessarily a power chair, maybe a wheelchair, maybe just general mobility aids, like, if you're kind of on the fence about it and you think deep down that it would improve your quality of life, then there's absolutely no shame. Like, I shouldn't even need to say it, but there's no shame at all in using mobility aids as a young person. Like, do what you need to do to get through the day. It just puts you on a level playing field with everyone else. And it took me a really long time to realise that. So seriously, like, if there is any doubt in your mind, just do it. Just do it. And in the future, maybe we will have some prettier things. Maybe we will. I can't stop thinking about that point that my friend Charlotte made about things looking so medical, and it's so true. So, I mean, we can only hope, can't we? Prettier shower stalls one day, but yeah, you never know. I think that's really all I wanted to say this time. I've done this broadcast at a bit of a weird time, but I thought I'll do it now while I've got makeup on. Maybe look a bit more alive. Hi Brian. Oh, some of your comments cut off, but I'm going to try and read this. In the US, there's been a movement to put down mats in the sand on beaches to allow power chairs to navigate. Ah, okay. Yeah, I can only see a bit of this comment, but I think it's saying there's been a movement to kind of make the beach more accessible for people in wheelchairs. And I have seen things. I don't think it was mats here in the UK, but where I'm based, in Yorkshire, and I'm at East Yorkshire a lot, they've just introduced these beach wheelchairs, and they have like thicker wheels, and you can rent them and you can take them down on the beach, so people who use mobility aids who do want to get closer to the beach do have that. So I guess it's kind of a similar thing, although I'd be really interested to find out more about the mats, because maybe it is a more accessible way of doing it. So that's really good to know. Thank you. Oops. This is great for people on the fence. Thank you. I hope so. I was on the fence for so long, so if it even helps one person, then fab. What is your blog address again? My blog address is www.lifeofpippa.co.uk, and I'm on social media, Life of Pippa blog on Facebook, Life of Pippa with an underscore on Twitter, and Life of Pippa on Instagram. Got to get that self-promo in there. So yeah, have I answered? Yes, I have. Yeah, the beach point is really interesting though, because like, that's another thing actually. Like, it's all well and good us using mobility aids, but if places aren't accessible, it kind of defeats the purpose, doesn't it? And I mean, I only used my power chair on the bus for the first time last week because I've been a little bit scared, not gonna lie. Like, the public transport situation in England with mobility aids is just ridiculous, and I've heard so many stories about people getting left on trains and like being kicked off buses that I was really scared to do it. Like, and that wasn't an irrational fear, it really wasn't. But I mean, I did it for the first time on Tuesday, which actually felt like something of an achievement. It only took me like 3 attempts to try and reverse into the spot, so you know, it could be worse. And there's a video on Zubia from somebody who uses a power chair on the beach. I'll email you the link. Thank you, Brian. That'll be really good. I will have a watch of that, because yeah, beaches are tricky, aren't they? I mean, seaside places like in England as well, in in general. So I mean, beaches, seas. Still a long way to go. So yeah, okay. I've been here 15 minutes now, so maybe I should kind of wrap this up. I think I've said everything I want to say. And yeah, okay, cool. Let's leave this here. But thank you so much to everybody who watched. Thank you everybody who sent a question. And thank you to anybody who's watching this later on as well. Hopefully I've not been too embarrassing. I've not watched the other one back yet because I don't want to watch it. But there is another one on my profile, Chronic Illness and Social Media. So yeah, if you want to go and check that out, that's, yeah. Okay, cool. I hope everyone has a nice day, and yeah, see you later. Bye.